Well, good day, everybody. It's the 14th of June, and a lot of news going on. I'm in some area here, part of Minsk. It's Frunzinskaya is the metro station, and yeah, it's a place I really never go. There's not that much business around as far as shops or things like that. There are, of course, some, but it's not like some of the other places like Nyamiga or Kamena Gorka or something like. Kamena Gorka is a huge amount of shops. I'll go there sometime, but just show you around the area a little bit here, very slowly if I can. I'm using a different camera, so it shakes a lot more, unfortunately. Of course, there's a supermarket over there and some other shops, shoe places all over in Belarus. So this is a park. As you see, everything's brown. It's we're not getting a lot of rain. Very, very, very little lately. It sort of reminds me of last year in Western Europe when they didn't get much rain. Everything dried out very badly. Of course, this is just the beginning. This is still June. So who knows what's going to be happening. Hopefully we'll start getting a little bit more rain. So, anyway, news. It's a little bit windy. I should probably face the other direction, otherwise my pages all blow open here. Okay, yesterday, 13th of June, Joe Biden extended the status of Belarus as a threat, security threat to America. And, of course, he neglected to tell how Belarus is a security threat to the United States. Well, it was when Belarus, when they attacked, when they, it's just ridiculous. Well, actually, the real truth is, as most of you probably already know, is Belarus stands in the way to the U.S. wanting to conquer Russia. And Lukashenko is a sovereign leader of a sovereign state. And if you look at some place such as Germany will roll over and do anything for the United States. Great Britain is the same way. France, they stomp their feet a little bit one day, and then the next day they do whatever the United States asks. And most countries have to do that because they're in no position to resist the United States. But Belarus, Lukashenko, he does what's best for the country. And that's one reason why I decided to live here, is because Belarus, the leader, works for the people. He works for the people, he works for the country. And if you lived in other countries such as, I've lived in Germany and I've lived in St. Vincent, and you always wonder, well, why is the leader doing this? It's not good for the economy, it's not good for the people, it might have some way to benefit the elites, but it certainly doesn't benefit the country or the people. And you know why. You know why, because we have some sort of a dictatorship, a global dictatorship. And then you try to figure out, well, who's in charge of this dictatorship? And I think and it's not necessarily the United States, because look at how they treat their people. Look at all the stuff that's going on there. It's also very bad. Their economy is always in the dumps. They don't do things that benefit the country. Look at like Biden. What did he do with this pipeline? This Keystone pipeline or whatever? Trump was a lot like Lukashenko. Not a little bit, a lot like Lukashenko. He was doing things great for the United States. And of course, like I said, there's a different agenda afoot. Even if you don't like Trump, there are things I don't like about Trump. And I think he tried to make a compromise with some of these real leaders, the men behind the curtain. Like I said, it's not the United States that's running things. It's the men behind the curtain. And I guess the difficult part is to figure out, who are these men behind the curtain? Who are these people? And we already know some names. We know Soros, we know Bill Gates, and then we know who their main controllers are. Their main controllers are not elected peoples, and a lot of these people are not really elected anyway. If you think that Joe Biden was actually elected, I feel sorry for you. So I think some of the people that do the real controlling, one of them, as we all know, is Victoria Nuland. Victoria Nuland, she is one of the instruments of the men behind the curtain. I think that's very obvious by now. Anybody who can observe what's going on in the world knows that Victoria Nuland has a huge amount of control. And she's not the power, but she is I guess you'd call her the instrument of power. And of course, she's going after Belarus just like she did to Ukraine. And it's very strange about Ukraine. I think she has Ukrainian blood, but none of these people actually care about any country. These people, they care to a large extent about themselves, and the men behind the curtain are the ones that are working for their own benefit. I saw something the other day, and it's worth seeing. Anybody should watch this. And it was with Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, very fascinating guy, not afraid to tell the truth. And even if you don't like him, maybe he's a little bit too macho for most people, but it was on Value Entertainment, run by Patrick Bet-David, and I believe it looks like, well, I didn't see the whole episode. I was watching Jackson Hinkle, and on that he was showing part of this interview with Patrick Bet-David and where am I at here? I'm at a vet place, obviously, if you can see this. Very wide angle lens here. But I think he was in Romania. I think he made the trip there. There was somebody else there, and I believe it must have been in Andrew Tate's house, because he's still, I believe, on house arrest. Very, very strange. They don't have any crime against him. They're trying to find some sort of a crime. They had come up with a crime, and it turned out that they have no evidence, so they're just keeping him on house arrest until they can possibly find something to justify the fact that they have him on house arrest, I guess. But very interesting. And he's a threat because he's a very good thinker, and he can formulate, things. He's not afraid to come out and speak. He doesn't have an agenda for himself. He's already achieved what he wants, and he is not afraid to speak out about how he sees things. It's very interesting, very fascinating guy, Andrew Tate. So, see if I can cross the road here, baby. Lots of young girls over there. Sorry guys, it's not worth showing. I don't know. The camera's too heavy. I can't be swinging it around everywhere. But yes, Andrew Tate. Okay, let's talk about some other news. Like I was saying, Joe Biden has extended his, I guess you could say he's extended his threat against Belarus. So what this means is regime change. As Victoria Nuland has told us already a couple months ago, that they are going to continue to seek to enact regime change in Belarus. And of course, I'm living in Belarus, so in a sense that's not good news for me. And I think, what was it, some weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, the Polish, somebody who was an advisor in the Polish government said, they were talking about, I think he was saying he is ready because there are, what are they practicing? They are preparing military regime change in Belarus to overthrow Lukashenko. And 1 year and about 1 month ago, they were trying to kill Lukashenko and his family. They had covered the plans, Russians did, and of course they arrested those people. They have them on videotape saying that they were going to kill Lukashenko. And of course they tried to overthrow Lukashenko in 2020, and in the wings they have waiting Tikhanovskaya, and she probably did get some vote, of course she got. She didn't get the majority of the vote. She is, of course, a self-declared leader of Belarus, in exile, living in Lithuania. So, but they've been wanting to overthrow Belarus since 2006, And like I said, the big question is, what sort of security threat is Belarus to the United States? They've never attacked anyone. They've never threatened the United. They haven't threatened anybody. Belarus has never threatened any country, not even their neighbors. The neighbors have been going after Belarus with a passion. Poland, Lithuania, Latvia. I don't know so much about Estonia. Estonia does not border Belarus, but and then Ukraine. Ukraine, of course, is very much involved. That's where they're supposed to be doing the training right now. A lot of the military that is preparing the military overthrow of Lukashenko. So we'll see what happens. The fact that Belarus and Russia know this, means that it's probably not going to be successful, and I hope it's not. Like I said, I like living in Belarus, and most everybody does. It's the biggest kept secret. People are going to Russia, but they don't know about Belarus. There's a lot of things over here that are better than in Russia, but like I said, keep that quiet. Keep that quiet. Wages are going up. I think they're nearly 100% higher in Belarus now than they were last year. So things are changing. But still, I believe wages are higher in Russia. And Russia economy is booming. It's going up here. And the Chinese are coming here to make an industrial park and to make, there's going to be car manufacture. Right now they make tractors and lots of trucks and things like that in Belarus. And they used to make airplanes a long time ago, but that's another story. That's old news anyway. So, but a lot of this overthrow attempts from Belarus is supposed to be conducted to at least a certain extent by the Belarusian military. I guess there are elements within the military, but as they are threatening Belarus and threatening invasion. Of course, there's a huge buildup of troops on the border of Belarus and Poland. Lukashenko said he will not hesitate to use tactical nuclear weapons if they ever attack Belarus. And I wouldn't test Lukashenko if I were them. And along with that, you probably already heard that Russia, since Great Britain is using apparently depleted uranium munitions in Ukraine, and the U.S. now says they are going to introduce their depleted uranium to contaminate, of course, the Ukrainian soil, or actually the Russian soil. They're going to be using it in the zones that belong to Russia, and they know they're not going to get this area back. That's one reason why they're contaminating the soil. That's what it's all about. So Russia has come out and said, well, they're probably also going to start using their huge stockpile of depleted uranium, but they're not going to be using it in those areas, I'm sure. You could probably bet they're going to be using it somewhere in the area of Lviv, which means that that's probably not going to be ever taken over by Russia. That's what it tells me, anyway. But in the meantime, the Ukrainians are more than happy to contaminate what they claim is their own country and what they're going to be getting back, which, of course, secretly they don't have any hope of getting it back, and they know that, and that's one reason why they're perfectly willing to contaminate that soil. You can't grow anything. It's not, birth defects, cancers will happen. And it's this dust. As a matter of fact, this stuff blows all over the place, and it blows maybe miles and miles. So, pretty stupid. That's why Russia has never used this stuff. It's in May, Russia busted a Ukrainian group planning to sabotage power cables connected to a nuclear power plant in order to cause a meltdown. So they were planning on causing a big ecological and human catastrophe already. Ukrainian saboteurs, and Russia caught these people. Great. They've been catching a lot of saboteurs lately. Belgorod. Matter of fact, they got some former Russian people that worked in the, the military-industrial complex, and they were Russian, and they were planning terror attacks in Kursk and Belgorod regions, and they had large quantities of explosives. They had detonators, and they had $150,000 with them, And, along with that note, getting money for doing this stuff. I just remembered that was a week ago. Zelensky is supposed to be getting 2.1 billion in US aid and 373 million from Canada. And I think just one day ago, the United States said they're sending another 300 some billion. That's the regular allowance of Zelensky. And Canada, let's see, and there's 20 million from the UK, in addition to I think some days earlier, the UK said they're sending 220 million British pounds, and other countries are also sending their money in. So, guess what, boys? I mean, look at since Ukraine is not doing very well on these counteroffensives, all these countries are saying, well, as long as it takes, as much as it takes. So, I don't know. Russia should use this as a tactic and let these countries continue to deplete themselves. The only problem is, the longer it goes, the more contamination if they're going to be using depleted uranium. And also I want to mention something. It was on Redacted. It was Mel Gibson apparently is going to be coming out with some sort of a series. I think maybe it's going to be in 4 parts. And a lot of this is talking about Hollywood and corruption. And just like what I've been mentioning a lot lately, even from the Nazis back in the old days and what's going on, like when Putin evacuated those children from Ukraine, because of what Ukraine is doing to children. And a lot of this stuff is going on. These are like, what do they call them? Undocumented children. A lot of, and it's in the United States too. And this is a global project, and they're taking children and they're doing. This is not for adoption. This is not for people. These are for very sick measures, very sick things. And the Nazis in World War II were using Belarusian children and withdrawing blood from them for injured Nazi soldiers, Ukrainian and German. So that's where they were getting their blood supply. It's taking it from the children. And I tell you, there's a lot of this sick stuff going on, and there's Hollywood people, and they're, along with this, they're talking about how many children are disappearing in America. Just in America alone, over 800,000 children disappear from the United States every year. They just disappear. And there's 230,000 that disappear in the UK every year. And just those 2 countries alone, that makes 1 million children. And in other countries, it is just as high. Huge amounts of children. And somebody was mentioning that in Cleveland, Ohio, they average 27 missing children every week. Children just disappearing. And then when you hear about the things that's going on, it is... And like I said, it's not just Ukraine, even though Ukraine is very much into this stuff. Organ trade and everything. And I already mentioned things that they're taking organs from children there. It's not even anything I really relish talking about, but that's what it's all about, people. And yeah. And we're talking about these elites and what's going on in the world and what they think that they can get away with. What I should also mention was what Andrew Tate was saying, that a lot of these elite people, if you look at how we are, just regular people, we strive to increase our income and to attain maybe material items and all that. But these people, they can get material items as they wish. They can get a Ferrari if they want to, he said. That's what he was using as an example, Andrew Tate. But what they want is control, and they want power. And let me add to this that, and the part that I saw, I don't know, Andrew Tate didn't mention this, but he might agree with that as well. A lot of these people, they like to push limits to see how far they can go, and whatever is taboo, they want to go there. And I could probably write this out a lot better and then maybe talk about it at some time in a future video, but I'm not doing that right now. And along with this, I keep mentioning, and I will keep mentioning because it's very important, I will be going to like I said, this taboo nuclear zone in Belarus. It's uninhabited, and people are not allowed there. So it's going to be very interesting, because it's I don't know, what do you call it? It's apocalyptic, I guess, to a certain extent, and it's right on the border. That's where Chernobyl blew off, and Belarus got the worst of Chernobyl, not Ukraine. But of course, you're never going to hear that. You don't ever hear much of any of the truth about Belarus. You'll hear nothing about Belarus, really. And the rest of the world, it's kind of maybe a forgotten place. So, and that's one reason why I'm doing this site, to tell you more about Belarus mostly. And of course, I keep up with the regular news. And a lot of time I don't say much about Belarus, and it's mostly because everybody wants to hear about the global news and what's going on, you know. I just thought I'd show you right around here where I was sitting. And now you can see how big this sidewalk is. So you could drive cars here. It's like a two-way road. I've lived in countries where the roads are not even half that size. So, and this is not even a very frequently traveled area here, so. But in any case, if you haven't already, subscribe, and I'll try to keep you more informed and get you a lot of information about Belarus that you won't hear anywhere else. And that's it for right now, and thanks for joining me. Till next time.